much money can you earn on Medium? I get this question a lot, and I totally understand why. When you're writing, you want to know, like, is this sustainable? Is this something that you can ultimately make a living out of? So I totally get why I get this question coming up again and again. Truthfully, the answer is the sky's the limit. I make around, I've made between $1,000 and $2,000 for the past year or so every month. There are people who make $20,000 every month on the platform. And then obviously as more readers join Medium, there's the potential to be paid more. Now let's talk about a metric I find much more useful. How much is 1,000 views worth? So if you get 1,000 views, how much money can you expect to earn? Before we jump into that, I want to explain how Medium pays its writers. So when I write a story and I put it out there, and somebody who pays Medium $5 a month to read unlimited stories, they read one of my articles, I get a portion of that $5 monthly membership fee. This is how Medium works. It's like a royalty system. The more paying members that read my stuff, the more money I earn. I'm incentivized to share my stuff as widely as I can to earn more money, and I'm incentivized to try to write really good stuff to convince people to become part of the platform. I win, Medium wins, the readers win, everyone's happy. But what does that mean specifically? So 1,000 views, how much money can you earn? I made $611 last month and I had 40,000 views. That was my lowest month in a while. But doing some quick math, we figure out that I just under $15 per 1,000 views. But then as soon as I start to dig deeper, that kind of statistic, that $15 per 1,000 views, starts to break down a little bit. So for example, if I look at one of my most popular stories from recently that has 1,500, it has already earned me $40. So I'm like, what's going on there? Surely it should have only earned me just over $22. So this brings me into the next interesting metric. Of course, monthly views are one thing, but story views are slightly different. Story views break down in a lot of more different ways. So for example, if I write a story in data science and that gets 1,000 views, that's going to be different than I'm writing a story in pets that gets 1,000 views. And also, as stories become more and more popular, they tend to earn more money per 1,000 views. Why is that? Medium pays you based on number of reads. So if I get 1,000 reads that first day, that's probably going to be the people that are always on Medium, the Medium always readers, right? The people who read hundreds of blog posts a day, maybe, I don't know. The way to answer why that second 1,000 is worth more than the first 1,000 is to do a little thought experiment. Let's say I'm on Medium. Let's say I read one 5-minute story every single day, all by different authors. At the end of the month, my $5 gets chopped up into 30 pieces and spread out. That's great. But let's take it one step further and say I only read one Medium story, one 5-minute Medium story per week. Then what happens? Already, that's going to mean that my $5 is only split up 4 ways. So those infrequent readers are worth more money. The first 1,000 views you get, it's going to be mostly people who read a lot of stuff on Medium. The second 1,000 views, it's going to be people who read a little less frequently, who only read the really good stuff, who only read the one of the articles on their daily digest. That's going to be the reader that you want to reach. So that's why the second 1,000 and the third 1,000 views are often way more valuable than the first 1,000 for a story. But it also depends on topic. So for example, if I write about writing versus if I write about data science, the first 1,000 views are going to come out to different amounts because the audiences there are different. They read different amounts as a rule. There are fewer or there are more stories out there on that subject. So you see that 1,000 views on Medium depends entirely whether you're talking about monthly views, story views, your first 1,000 story views, your second 1,000 story views. Now you want to know, how do you make sure that you're maximizing the amount of money you make by writing on Medium? How do you get to those hard to reach readers? How do you make sure that you're getting your story viewed time after time? There are 4 strategies that you need to take. First of all, and the hardest, don't give up. So you never know when something's going to take off. You never know when it's going to start to be showed to people again. You never know when an infrequent reader is going to read your story and suddenly you get the bulk of their monthly membership fee. You never know. It could happen any minute as long as you keep writing. And the more good quality stories you put out there, the more likely you are to get lucky. Secondly, focus on curation. Curation means that a Medium distributor read your story and they said, this is really good. Anyone who's interested in these topics should see this story. Now, like we said, the first time this gets shown to people, it's people who are always on Medium. But Medium's going to keep recommending that story if it's curated. It's going to show it to people even years after you've written it, which means that potentially you could be earning money for that story, again, years after you've written it. And remember, the longer it keeps earning money, the more likely you're going to get one of those infrequent viewers who doesn't have to break up their Medium membership fee that much. Most of their money will be going to you. Third, find your audience. Remember how I showed you that example about data science versus writing earlier? You might be tempted to now want to write about data science, but the fact is that people will find their audiences in different factors. It's possible that somebody who writes in writing a lot better than I do will be able to access that harder to reach audience than I can, or somebody who's really bad at writing about data science might not be able to get the same readers that I was able to get. You have to look at your own stats when you're trying to figure out what you should write about if you're trying to maximize your earnings. So for example, look at if you don't have a 1,000 view story, that's fine, work with 100. Look at all the stories that got 100 views. What were they curated in? Which ones earned the most for each 100 views? That will tell you where your audience is most valuable if that's the tack that you want to take. Fourth, focus on readability. So you remember earlier in the example, I talked about 5-minute stories. Length of a story matters. If somebody only reads 2 stories in a month, one is a 1-minute story and the other is a 9-minute story, the 1-minute story gets 10%, the 9-minute story gets 90%. That's just how it is. Now, you might be tempted to try to bulk up your stories and just write tons of fluff. Don't do that. Think about it this way. If you write a really sharp, really concise, really value-packed 3-minute story versus if you write a really long, rambly, boring 9-minute story, the person will get to the bottom of your 3-minute story. You'll get all 3 minutes of that read time. Whereas the 9-minute story, they'll get 30 seconds in and they'll be like, this isn't worth it, I'm gonna leave, and they won't even bother reading the rest of it. So in one instance, even though it was 1/3 of the time, you're gonna get so much more money out of that story than out of your 9-minute story because it's more valuable for your readers. Don't write long, rambly posts designed to bulk up read time. Instead, focus on providing value, focus on gripping your readers through the story, and focus on writing stories that's going to make readers want to read more of your stuff, okay? So those are the 4 strategies you can try to maximize the money that you get out of every 1,000 views on Medium. And remember, the sky is the limit. There's no cap on how much you can earn, and you never know when your star is going to rise. So have a wonderful day, keep writing, keep trying, keep aiming for curation and those big publications, and now you've got a better idea of what you can expect when you get those 1,000 views. Okay everyone, have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I put new videos out every Friday and every Sunday, and if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. Okay, bye.